What's going on, everybody? It's Eli here from Treefall Studios, and I hope you are doing well today. I've got some awesome game development video topics for you coming up your way. I don't really want to talk about this too deeply on the channel. I don't want this, out in the public sphere. But there are some things going on behind the scenes with us, and we are going to be having our baby a little bit earlier than we expected. So I'm filming all of our year-end recap videos, all the stuff that I would normally film right at the end of December, and I'm filming them today on December 7th, so you guys can have videos published all throughout the month of December while I'm taking off and spending time with my family. I just feel like I should point that out because this video is called my 2023 income as an indie game developer, and well, the video is coming out before the end of 2023. So with that being said, if you guys are unfamiliar, my name is Eli and I run an indie game studio called Treefall Studios. This is my full-time job. I worked at my indie game studio all year this year and last year as my full-time source of income, and today we're going to be talking about those income sources through 2023, and I'm giving you a breakdown. And it's basically through the first week of December, but mostly this is just settled income, through November. So you're looking at the first 11 months of the year. So not much is going to change on these percentages or, portions. So without further ado, I'm not going to hold it up anymore. Let's go ahead and look at some of these numbers. All right, guys, so our first data set here is this pie chart giving you a breakdown of where our income came from in 2023. We're not including numbers on this chart. This is just to give you an idea of where the income came from. You guys can probably figure out about how much, but we're not putting numbers on here because platforms like Nintendo and Sony don't really want you sharing dollar figures. So we're just going to keep it simple for this video. And you guys still should be able to get good information out of here if you are an indie game developer looking at where to put your games and where to make money. First thing you guys should notice really easily is that console is king. It basically looks like Sony is king, but Nintendo, we'll explain a little bit about that 4%, shows that this is also really, really good to being on consoles. Console sales made up most of our income, and you can see we're very reliant on Sony, which is a good and a bad thing. It's nice that we're still making sales on PlayStation and still able to sell games on PlayStation 4 and make income from it. But being so reliant on one source is very, very scary, especially if that source starts to dwindle, which we have noticed heavily in the year 2023. So you can see Sony is at 91%. Let me run down the numbers for you. Nintendo was 4% of our income through November. Sony was 91%. Valve and Atari are both about 2%, so that's Steam and the Atari VCS. 1% is our Patreon page income, and then 0%, it just rounds it off as 0, but this will give you guys an idea of where these numbers are coming from. We made is merchandise sales. The 0% is our TeePublic store, in which we sell t-shirts and stickers and pillows and stuff like that. This year, I think we only sold 2 t-shirts, so our royalty cut from that was $4. So if you guys can see, $4 is 0%. It doesn't even register. It can't even register as a point anything on this chart. So that's our bottom baseline. But when you add up all of those things, you basically have almost 10% coming from all these miscellaneous sources, and then 90% coming from PlayStation. Another thing to note with our declining PlayStation sales, this year it should be higher, or it feels like it should continue to go higher because we are now on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. This 91% only features our PlayStation 4 sales. We have not received our PlayStation 5 sales yet. However, it wasn't mind-blowing. The sales are about the same as they've been on PS4 in the past. Still down a little bit. So I'm not so sure that PS5 is going to increase the revenue in any significant way. PS4 still seems like the way to go. So with that being said, this breakdown is not the greatest. We would like to spread this out, in 2024. If we can continue operations, we're going to hopefully spread this out a little bit more evenly among different platforms. Moving on to our next chart, guys, this is what I was kind of briefly mentioning, and you can see, because we had mentioned, this is our overall yearly income 2022 versus 2023. Here's 2022 and here's 2023. Our Sony sales are about 30% lower in 2023 versus 2022, which is pretty terrible. Also, that 30% includes the PlayStation 5 sales. So now we're on multiple PlayStation platforms. We've released 2 new games so far this year, and we're heavily down compared to the previous year. I started noticing a huge drop in sales in Europe, and just launch day sales in general are hugely down. I want to say that's mostly due to the economy, but I also think the direction that Sony is currently taking PlayStation, I don't really think that they're growing their user base in any significant way, and it's mostly staying the same. The people who are currently buying PlayStations for the big surge for this year mostly bought PlayStations just to play Spider-Man. I feel like a lot of the people who play indie games are currently on the Switch, and it's becoming a harder and harder market to sell smaller indie games on PlayStation. They also changed up their store algorithms this year in order to hide some of the shovelware that's been hitting the store. So that has a negative impact on games like mine. You can barely find them in new games list. It's almost impossible. So now basically to sell games on PlayStation, you have to have an audience, or you have to have some serious coverage from other YouTubers, websites, and places that direct traffic directly to your game, because the discoverability tools on PlayStation are hugely lower. So overall, this right here would have been an even bigger dip in income compared to last year, but we did have some positive changes overall in the year. Number one, we made more money from Nintendo this year than last year, I'm pretty sure, because our sales were up as people were frantically buying games before the shop closed. And then two, we added a new income source via Atari, which, helped boost this just a tiny bit. Not significantly. Overall, we did lose money from this year to this year, 2022 to 2023 on our Patreon page, but our overall number of patrons are growing. So hopefully the following year that will, reverse itself. All right, so here's a quick detailed look at some of the notes about some of the data we just saw. I briefly mentioned some of these, but let's just go through them pretty quickly. So the Patreon page is growing. Like I mentioned earlier, 5 new patrons in the last 4 months. The Nintendo eShop shut down in May, so it's pretty crazy that 4% of our income, sales numbers that beat out both Atari and Valve, came from only the first 5 months of the year. It would have been a whole lot bigger. It sucks that that's going away forever. Atari income is actually, a positive note. We didn't start selling games on Atari until August 25th. So really that's only just the last little bit of the year, and it's already, with December's check, going to eclipse Valve overall throughout the whole year. So we're going to keep looking forward to that. Steam is, that's a positive thing with Atari. Growing income sources, but Steam, here's some bad news, guys. Our Steam income is actually offset by how many game credits we purchased this year. So we released 2 new games on Steam, and each of those, if you're unaware, it costs $100 per game you put on Steam. So already our Steam revenue is a little bit lower than our Atari revenue, and then you got to offset that even more by the $200 it cost us to put the games on there without even factoring into the development cost of the time it took to put the games on Steam. Another couple notes for Treefall Studios: we did reach YouTube partnership status this year. Just very recently, we have the limited partnership status, so we're not full partners yet, but we do have channel memberships now and super chats available. We just set those up a couple of days ago, so we have 0 income from that, although next year might have some of that. We're getting closer to full partnership, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of ad revenue from some of these videos, but really it's probably going to fall into that 1-2% category next year. I became a Unity affiliate this year, but right after I did that, Unity went and bombed their company, so I never publicly posted or put the affiliate links out for anyone to purchase anything, so I made 0 from that. I did become a Polygon affiliate last year, which is a website where you can get textures, realistic textures for your games, and I promoted it maybe 1 or 2 videos, and the links have been in a lot of my videos in the bottom. but I've been taking them out of the new ones. I haven't been promoting it at all, even in just the description. I think the site's gotten a lot worse, so that's 0. It's going to stay 0. We're moving on from that. Our goals for 2024. So right here, we're going to keep launching on PS4, PS5, try to grow that PS5 income as some of the new PS5 players learn about Treefall Studios. Hopefully we can grow that back up to our 2021 and 2022 Sony income levels. I want to look into getting tilting tiles and more games onto the Xbox Series consoles, but we have a little bit of problem there. We need funding before we can do that because our income is down and our revenue is like, it's so close to basically we're just barely breaking even, you know, almost on the verge of just shutting down. We also lost our Unity Pro license key, and Unity raised the price twice this past year, so now it's more than $2,000 for just the year, and we need that in order to work on Xbox and get our games out on Xbox. So those Xbox games are on ice, and they're not coming out until we have a little bit of extra capital to, you know, invest in getting the Unity license key. But for now, we're not going to be able to do that. So there's two options we're looking into. You know, we're going to look into funding options through Microsoft themselves. Most likely that's not going to go anywhere, but I'll keep you guys updated. And then number 2, we're going to be looking into potentially, you know, if people are interested, we could put together a small Kickstarter campaign, you know, $4,000 or $5,000 goal, and that would be all it would need for us to, you know, have enough money to get through the development cycle of getting some games on the Xbox. I applied for GOG, which is an alternative to Steam. That way we can get some games out on PC without having to lose $100 every time we want a game on the PC. But I'm not really planning on that to be any significant source of income. I hear those sales are way worse than Steam sales, and they have to approve each game individually, so I don't know what the chances are of us actually getting a game on there. I'll let you know if they approve us or not. So that's in the works. We're going to continue releasing games faithfully on the Atari VCS, especially for now because I can port semi-quickly. The only real issue I've run into with Atari is a lot of our games are larger games built for PlayStation 4 and better hardware. Atari's hardware is pretty good, but it's still on the lower end of things. So a lot of the times, it's hard to port games like Perplexing Orb 2 right away. Some of those games would need a lot of work. So not everything is going to be able to make it onto Atari VCS. The Perplexing Orb Bounce and Roll is coming to Atari VCS this month in December. I will give you guys the release date later on the channel when we get the official word that it's past testing. But right now they're going to be taking a look at it and it should make it out this month. And our last goal for 2024, however, it is unlikely we would like to become a Nintendo publisher again. All right, guys, so there's our income source breakdown for the year 2023. You saw where all of our income came from, just how much of it came from those different sources, and you saw a comparison from the previous year to this year and saw how, you know, things are starting to trend downwards. And I feel like for most people that is the case with just the economy and the current state of the game industry. So I hope if you are a game developer out there and you're watching this channel, I still had a full-time income basically from video game development, and I'm hoping that 2024 will be a lot better than this year. It was a little rough this year, starting to get a little tough towards the end of the year, but next year we've got some new platforms we're going to be aiming to hit. We got a lot of new games coming out soon. I've got a lot of games that are semi already in development, so hopefully we'll continue putting out new indie games for you. But for the game developers watching this video, hopefully you found some value out of this, gives you some ideas of who you should be contacting, where you should be putting games. Good luck if you're going for the Steam route. Be sure to join our Discord below and let me know how your Steam launch turns out. All right, guys, with that being said, I got to give a huge shout out to everybody who supports Treefall Studios on patreon.com. I got to give a personal shout out to Carmen Red, Shark and Minnow, PLP, Thomas Stewart, and Ben Josh. Thank you guys for what you do for Treefall Studios on patreon.com. I couldn't do what I do without you guys. You just saw the income breakdown. You know, every little bit helps to pump up our revenue and make sure that our Sony sales can get us across the line for a full-time income. Thank you guys for what you do for Treefall Studios. If you guys are interested, you can check out the links down below. All sorts of perks. The tiers are only $1, $3, and $5, so you can learn more at patreon.com. I mentioned it earlier, but you can join the Discord down below completely free, and you can hang out with us. Chat about Treefall Studios games, ask me game development questions, and more. Join the Treefall tribe down below in our Discord. If you guys are new to the channel, if you found any of this information helpful or insightful, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Drop us a like on the video so more people can find this content and hopefully have a little bit of hope that it's still doable even in the hardest of times. So hopefully I can inspire you and encourage you just a little bit if you're trying to follow your game development dream. But I'm not gonna lie to you, it's been a rough year, it's been tight, and we were just barely making it. Not gonna lie. Next year we're hoping for bigger and greater things. But all right, guys, got a bunch of videos coming your way for a year-end recap, all of our December stuff. So hopefully you're sticking around to see more of that soon. I'll catch you in the next video.